LinkedIn is an incredibly powerful tool. I know it, and I want to really spend this video screen sharing why I think my profile is good. I've spent a lot of time and effort here, and I want you to follow these tips and tricks. And just understand, I've been following these tips and tricks for years. I joined LinkedIn in 2007, and I got recruited, I got sourced by Google because I had a good LinkedIn profile. And it's something I've always pushed, but when you get an elite company coming after you because you have a good profile, it's just something to keep in mind. So, I want to go through why I think my profile is good. And this is not to be an ego play, this is to give you the opportunity to understand why I've crafted each section in the way I have and potentially utilize some of these items for yourself. So, let's dive right in. The most underutilized part of a LinkedIn profile is the LinkedIn background photo. Why? When we look at this real estate, right, we're just looking right here. This is about a third of the page right here. So not leveraging, not utilizing this section is a huge missed opportunity. So what have I done here? Now you're going to see this little icon that you will not see when you look at my profile because this is the edit icon you'll see, but bite-sized feedback on how to fix each part of your interview answer, and then you go to app.practiceinterviews.com. It's a call to action. I am telling people right when they land on my profile where they should go. Now, there's two places that you might want to consider if you're doing this. If you are just an employee at a company, you probably want to highlight your current company, but talk a little bit maybe about what your role is. You can do all of this in Canva. This is a great place to fix this piece up. But you just want to be highlighting what's your expertise. So if I was working in a cloud role, I'd probably have pictures of clouds and then I'd write maybe what I'm working on right in here. And again, you can do all that in Canva very easily. You can use that tool for free. They have a free option. Now, the other thing you'll notice I've done in here, I brought in a little bit of a visual image. We could argue whether that's a good image or a bad image, but I brought in an image here because I wanted to just make it pop a little bit. And this you'll see throughout my content, whether that's on the app, whether that's on my website, you'll see this image that I created with GPT. So again, this is a great opportunity. Now, the third option here is if you're open to work, you are going to put the roles you're looking for, the locations you're looking for, your contact information up here, maybe if you want, and then maybe like an arrow pointing down to your resume below. We'll talk about that in a second, but don't underutilize this section. It's so easy. Then the last very, very critical piece. You see this space that I've built in here? This looks like, well, Jeff, why are you not maximizing the space? On mobile, this is going to move all the way to right here on an iOS device. And so always be thinking about mobile, double check on mobile. A lot of people use LinkedIn on mobile, okay? And so I see so many people who have this picture cut off by their picture or they haven't optimized for mobile, and that's really important. And that's the other thing. This image should never be cut off by your head. We could argue whether LinkedIn designed this correctly. They didn't, but that's a whole other thing. So the profile picture, what have I done here? It is so incredibly important to know that people really like you better when you're smiling. Anytime I see somebody who's frowning or has a scowl on their face or anything like that, I am so much less likely to reach out to them. They are showing a low emotional intelligence by not having a smiling photo. When we see somebody smiling, we tend to smile and it warms us up. And there's a lot of science and psychology behind that. The other thing you notice, shoulders and above. This is a true headshot. Focus in on your head as much as possible and make sure you're smiling. I really like a clean background. Let's not get distracted by that background. If the background's really cool, okay, maybe, but clean background, zoomed in, and smiling. One other item I want to mention. I see a lot of people taking their face here and doubling it up here in the LinkedIn background photo. Why? Why would we ever show the same exact item twice up here? It's a waste of space. You want to optimize this space. So putting your head here and here, or your head here and a full body shot here, I don't recommend it. Okay, let's move on. So the next step here that I've done is you can see I've put Jeff H. Sipe, career coach. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. I put in my middle initial Y. Middle initial, if you have one, is a fantastic spam filter. So anytime anybody reaches out and says, Jeff H., I know that they're not reaching out to me because we would never say, hey, Sue S. or Bob Q. or whatever it might be. Like we just wouldn't do that, right? So this is a great filter. And then after your last name, put a comma and put the title of your current role, the role you're trying to attract, etc. It's really, really important. And of course, going back here, if you're open to work, you're going to put that banner on. Let's not get into the argument there. It's a great sign to show people that you're looking for a job. And then if you are open to work, you're going to put the type of role that's your primary role: program manager, product manager, software engineer. But if it's just your current role, put your current role like I've done here. Why? The text is bold. It jumps off the page. Hey, I'm clearly a career coach. Here, your headline. This is another huge missed opportunity that I see. Now, mine's obviously going to look different because I'm an entrepreneur, and so I'm trying to push people towards the services I have. So I have an AI tool, I have practice interviews, negotiation coaching, career strategy coaching, and interview mastery course. That's what I want to tell you in my headline. So now I've pushed you towards my app, I've reiterated that I have an app, and I've pushed you towards my coaching. These are all call to actions. So for most people, if you currently have a job or you're looking for work, these should be very, very specific keywords. You want it to jump off the page so your audience who's looking at your profile gets very, very excited about the words that they're seeing here. Really critical. Okay, let's move on. Now, obviously here and here, if you have completed your education, you're going to want to get your highest degree up here. And I just have a bachelor's. And then obviously you're going to want to get your company in here if you have a current company. If you're an entrepreneur like me and you have not built in your company page on LinkedIn, it takes about 3 minutes. It's a little bit of street credibility. Mine really has nothing on it, but I've built it just to have it. The next piece right here. So this is a huge missing piece of the puzzle. So if you click here, I'm not going to go through this exercise, but if you click here and scroll all the way to the bottom, basically it will allow you to either add a button here, which says like your website or whatever you're trying to drive them towards, or you can put a link in here. I like the link better. I feel like in here it just gets lost a little bit and people scroll on, but the link is very, very clear. So what we do? Again, if you're an entrepreneur like me, you're going to push people towards your business. Hey, maybe you are in sales and you want to show people your types of products. You could put a link in here as well. Obviously, if you are open to work, you're going to create a Google Doc and use your Google Doc as a link that says my resume right here. What have we done then? Then if you're open to work, for example, you've told people what are the types of roles you want. You've told them the type of role here. You've put your skills here and you have a click to your resume here. Think about all you've done just in the top of your profile. This is so important. And the reason why we'll actually spend the most time up top here is when people are excited here, they're going to keep going. It's very similar to the summary section on a resume. If they like the summary section, they're going to keep diving in. Just the most critical thing to remember is this is a great call to action. Whatever you're doing, smiling profile picture and optimizing all this space is really valuable. Let's keep going. So the about section. So with the about section, here's what I find to be the most important. The first 4 lines. You want to tell the story that you want people to see in these first 4 lines. Why? A lot of people are not going to click the see more button, okay? We obviously want them to do that, but they're not always going to do it. So have you told your story here? And of course, mine's going to look very different maybe than yours because I'm trying to capture people with storytelling in mind. Let's click see more. So as we go in, I kind of tell my personal story, and then I have a couple of things down here about when I launched my course, when I launched my tool. What I really want for you is I want you to optimize these first 4 lines, maybe tell a little bit of your story, and then at the bottom, just dump a ton of keywords down here. Any skills, anything you think is important, dump that down at the bottom. We really want to be attracting as many people as possible, and you'll hit on keywords if you put them down here. So it could be a soft skills section, a technical skills section, or both. Now, obviously, I provide services, but we'll go past that. The featured section. Okay, let's talk about this because I have some very specific coaching on the featured section. I think one of the biggest challenges with the featured section is too much. So often I see people with 10 items or 20 items, or they have 2 items and you got to click the arrow to go over if they have more items, and it just overwhelms me, so I don't even look at it. For my featured section, I've always focused in on just one item. What is the theme here? I'm trying to get people to use my tool. So I'm just pushing towards this so somebody could click and get right to my app. Now, if you are open to work, you're going to put your resume in the featured section right here. Why wouldn't you have it there? Then you have it as a link up top. You can also have a link in your about section, and you have a link to your resume in your featured section. So I have 3 places to click on your resume. Now, if I'm working at a company, I might want to feature a recent, I don't know, maybe a recent speech that was cool that was reposted to YouTube. I might want to post something that's trending in my industry, but this featured section should constantly be changing and evolving, but I really like focusing in on one item. It allows your audience to not have to overthink it and say, okay, if I'm going to click here, I'm just going to click on this one item. Remember, there's a reason why simplistic menus like in California, In-N-Out Burger do really well. They don't overwhelm people with choices. Less choices equals success. Okay, activity. You know this is a big one. So what do I recommend? So let's talk about the use cases. For me as an entrepreneur, obviously, I'm an absolute crazy person when it comes to LinkedIn, and my goal is to really post a minimum of 5 times per week. But for you, I would actually recommend the same thing. So that could be reposting, that can be commenting on others, that can actually be posting your own original content, whatever you prefer. But get really active on LinkedIn. So as somebody who's an employee, you are reposting about industry trends, what's going on with your organization. As somebody who's open to work, you're probably talking a little bit about your individual journey. You're sharing best practices. The more active you are, the more the LinkedIn algorithm has you pop up. It rewards you for being active. So again, it doesn't always mean that you're producing the content. Sometimes you're just liking, commenting, and reposting on other people's content. But this is a great opportunity also for people to know you're active. So if they were to reach out to you, they know that there's a much higher likelihood that they're actually going to hear back from you. That's also important. I don't really spend as much time reaching out to people on LinkedIn who aren't or do not appear to be super active on LinkedIn. So another good data point that I want you to be thinking through, just get super active. Again, the LinkedIn algorithm will reward you. Okay, the experience section. We're probably not going to spend a lot of time here, but it is one of the biggest missing pieces of the puzzle and one of the easiest things to fix up right away. So I need 2 things in your experience section, similar to what I would look for in a resume. I need to know a little bit about your day-to-day. What do you do on the daily? It just helps me understand what you do in your day-to-day job, and then what are your accomplishments. It's a copy and paste from your resume into LinkedIn. That's all you need to do. And of course, if any of the accomplishments or any of that data is confidential, you're going to want to scrap that out a little bit. But the vast majority of us can literally copy and paste it in here. And many, many people don't. I would say probably only about 20 to 25% of LinkedIn profiles have just done the copy and paste from their resume over. Now, here's the second piece. This isn't as necessary, but embedding. Embedding media and articles under each position Well, it's LinkedIn. It's a visually stimulating tool. So we want to make sure that we're getting people visually excited. This is the fourth time, the fourth call to action on my AI app. Look, I'm an entrepreneur. That is the thing I'm trying to drive. So I've put just this one thing to click on because I don't want you to be confused and I don't want to overwhelm you with everything. But just building in media. So, of course, if you're open to work, you may want to think about some past cool articles or videos from your company, and that would be relevant too for somebody who's currently in a job. But you can see the visually pleasing piece of building these in. Now, here you can see I've really tried to keep it at 6. After 6, the icons get too small. These icons are pretty small, but I've built them into all these jobs. And of course, the way that I've called out my experience might look a little bit different just because of some of the things I'm doing as an entrepreneur and so on and so forth. So just build this out, embed some media. It will look really cool. One thing that's really important to note, these media links break sometimes on LinkedIn. So just always go back and double check that they're there. Let me just go back up to the top again. I just want to highlight for any entrepreneur watching this, just to make sure that you have created a LinkedIn company page. It literally takes 3 minutes and it's a little bit more credible than that weird looking gray box that they'll put there in its place. So let's keep going. Education. So my education's very straightforward. I just have a bachelor's degree. I did not put my high school in there. I didn't think it really mattered, and I don't think it matters. If you want to put it in there, of course, that's cool. Now, the biggest thing with education is if you went and have some additional education, but you didn't complete your degree, give the number of classes, right? So when we think about a typical bachelor's degree, it's probably about 32 classes, right? 4 classes per semester over 4 years. So you'd want to say completed 18 of 32 courses towards my bachelor's degree. Credits are not transferable. So I went to a small liberal arts college. 1 credit was 1 class. I know at some big universities, 4 credits is 1 class. So the credit system is not apples for apples across the board, but just be very, very clear. Let's use general context and universal language to say the number of courses we completed. And then, of course, this is just a fun little YouTube video on where I went to school, and it's this beautiful school in rural Pennsylvania, and so it's kind of a fun little video to watch. Do you need to embed media here? No. And obviously, if you played any sports, you were part of any clubs, sorority, fraternity, you'll want to list that. I don't have any of that stuff, so I didn't list any of it. Licenses and certifications. Put them all here, right? And then if they are inactive, hey, maybe you want to remove it or maybe you want to consider renewing it, but put your licenses and certifications in here. I don't have anything that's really overwhelming or exciting, but it's a really good item to put in here. Volunteering, some people will want to see your volunteer experience. So definitely put your volunteer experience in here if you have any. And sometimes we need to keep this up to date. Just a good note for me to keep it up to date as well. The skills section. So I have 83 skills. You can add up to 100 skills. I think I got a little exhausted, and I don't think you have to totally fill this out up to 100, but use this section. It's valuable, and you should be optimizing and adding as many skills as possible. And obviously, as we get to the lower parts of this page, are people looking as much? No, definitely not. They're exhausted, and maybe you're exhausted by this video, but I just want you to make sure you're optimizing your entire profile. Now, recommendations. So here's what I really look for. So I've received 20, and I've given 40. I actually look at people's LinkedIn profile to see if they've given more than they've received. And not that that's a huge deal, but the sneaky trick about recommendations, and you can see like Kathy was last. The last time Kathy was my lead, my boss, was 2000, maybe early 2008. And I was just thinking about Kathy and I wanted to say something nice. Kier's a baller. He's helped me with my business a ton over the last year. So obviously I wanted to highlight him, and obviously I have a ton, 40 that I've given. Recommendations are a sneaky good way to do a little bit of networking. So let's say Kathy's working at Tiger 21 and I want to get a job at Tiger 21. Well, maybe I leave Kathy a recommendation and it opens a door to open a conversation. And I say, hey, how are things going at Tiger 21? She says, great. Actually, we have this job. This is a great, great way to network. And by the way, if nothing comes of it, you have written something nice about somebody. And of course, you can utilize AI to help you write those recommendations. Then we get our languages. Languages is important, so you want to get your languages down here. And then these are just some people that I follow, obviously. This is all for you, really. This isn't for your audience. Let's go back up to the top. This is a lot. We're going to get to 21, 22 minutes in this video. It's a long video. What's the point? This is a huge missed opportunity. I know that the likelihood that very many people are still watching at this point is low. LinkedIn content doesn't play well on YouTube, but it's really important. Just know that this is a tool that will work for you while you're not proactively doing things. And sometimes that can lead to an amazing opportunity. And again, that's how I got my job at Google. And so I will continue to do these LinkedIn videos because I know it's such an important platform. And I wish you the best of luck. Please, in the comments section, if you have any questions about any of these sections that we went over, I'm happy to answer them. Thanks so much.